Hi, I'm Ben, and today I'll be chatting with Sarah King. Thanks a lot, Sarah, for your time.
You're welcome. Nice to see you, Ben, with your new isolation hairdo. Looks great.
Sarah is people and talent lead. She's been working with many companies to help them set up their people strategy. So, Sarah, could you tell me a bit more about what do we mean by people and talent, and
Mm.
how does it work within a company?
hmm I know we were just talking about the title jargon of this as well. So although I would say a people and talent lead, it can sometimes come under people and culture, head of talent. There's a new title recently I heard, which was chief people officer. So going up to C-level. I guess, Ben, my job would be the candidate architecture and looking after everything in terms of people and talent from the moment a CV is sent to an agency until all through their onboarding process and essentially until they're offboarded at exit interview with us. And in some cases, I'm still in contact with people that have left the businesses I've worked with before to see if they want to come back to us and what they're doing. So really, it never ends. I'm in contact with them forever.
So it's basically around the life cycle of a person within a company
Exactly.
from
Yeah.
inception.
So the recruitment process, the hiring process, onboarding, which is now virtual onboarding, remote onboarding, as we're seeing in these times. Also the social events as well. So anything I can do or bring to make the well-being and happiness of people. Also the social events, which Ben knows about. He's been at a few of them. And doing anything I can to help make people's experience a better one with the company that I'm working with. So yeah, candidate architecture, hiring, the onboarding and offboarding, and the cultural side as well being the most important.
Right. So when you talk about the cultural side of things, it's something that I've seen in a lot of companies when they try to kind of get people together, and they try to sort of basically make them happy. Ultimately, for a company, I like to think that for them it's quite a small investment,
Mm,
if you consider the added productivity and the kind of the get together that it provides.
mm,
To people within an organization. But
mm,
how do you work with this? Like, how do you measure? How do you make sure that it's actually having a good impact on people?
mm. Really good question. And something that's hard to quantify, right? It's culture is something that really should be happening organically. It's not something you can measure. It's about humans liking humans, liking the people they work with, liking their managers, enjoying coming to work. So for me, it's about making sure that starts at the hiring process. So typically in the recruitment stage, Ben, we've worked together on this a number of times, is having that final stage, a cultural interview. So making sure, even pre this, it's having a relationship with the recruitment agencies that is a partnership. So the agencies can come into our space, understand how we work, what we're like, what the hiring managers are like, what their environment is like, and getting a real feel for that before they even go to market. So they know when they're selecting candidates, they can say, that's a shell person, or that's a Deliveroo person, or that's someone that's more for fintech. And it's knowing and matching that at that stage. So by the time they come into a cultural interview with us, we could already gauge, yes, they are our type of person, but it's whether, we get on with them and we get that kind of gut feel. So even within hiring, it's interesting because regardless of someone has the correct skill set, has everything on paper, has worked for companies similar to ours, it might not work out. they might come in and it might not work out. They might not feel the way that they thought they would. And that does happen. We're humans at the end of the day. So it's taking that into account as well. And regardless of, how well the agency is doing matching that person, sometimes you just don't get on, or it doesn't feel right. So in trying to combat that, I would say it really does start with working with the agencies and having a really good relationship with them, so they know the types of people we're looking for, and giving them as much information as we can from the outset.
So when you talk about agencies, what kind of engagements do companies have with those agencies?
So the way that I work is I will only ever try to use 3 to 4 agencies. I think if you're using more than that, you're sometimes just throwing CVs at the wall and seeing what sticks. I really want to partner with the agencies I work with, and get them to come in and meet with the hiring managers and see what our environment's like and what our people are like, and have interviews with the people that are on the ground already, to really understand us. So I would say, as advice, if you are using external agencies, with the company I'm working with now, I have to do that because of the volume, is try to reduce the agencies that you're working with. Something that we lean on very heavily, and something I believe in, is a really strong referral scheme. So of course, you have to use agencies to get the talent that you need in certain areas. But the kind of unwritten rule in my world is spending quite a lot of money on recruitment in year 1 in a startup business. And then year 2 is about going to those people and saying, who do you know? Who do you think could suit us? And obviously rewarding them for it. And that should be saving you money. And that should be giving you the same breed of people that you have already. So culturally, that should be the right fit. I mean, in some cases it's not, but the majority of the time is. If someone, in that seat is recommending somebody, it's because they rate them, they feel they could work with them. So the cultural piece is already ticked off as well.
Isn't there some sort of danger in only bringing people from a similar background, because those are people who already know each other, so you might lose on diversity, I imagine?
Yeah, so that's why it's always good to use 3 to 4 agencies, and also have a referral scheme in place as well. I would never, I understand people have got cost restrictions, but I wouldn't advise that someone solely just uses a referral program, because you're right, you want to get some diversity and work with people you've never worked with before. I mean, coming into the business we work together on, I came from predominantly tech sales background, so I was helping businesses in that capacity. So to come into an agile environment with people that were designers, techies, that wasn't something I was used to in terms of personality. I'm used to working with extroverts, very loud personalities. But I have met some of the most incredible people I've ever worked with, and formed friendships with people that I never thought I would, and people I would absolutely go on to recommend in future businesses. So it is, a really good thing to mix up the type of people and the personalities you're working with, and don't have that kind of stigma attached to it, or a generic view of what those people are like, because they have been some of the most loving, funny, and in some cases like extrovert personalities, and also still have huge egos even though they're not in sales. So I think, yeah, it's great to mix it up in terms of both agencies and a referral scheme as well.
Going back to the culture side of things, so I'm actually going to be a bit cynical here, and I'm going to say that maybe culture is just a way for companies to justify the fact that they only hire people who are like them. How do you make sure that candidates can have those attributes?
So I've asked this question to hiring managers for a number of years to see, what the right formula is. And the common theme is the reason they're hiring that person is that they, of course, can believe they can do that job, but also they had a gut feeling about that person. And the amount of times it comes back to that. I do know that there are people in the company we have just worked with that have said, I definitely think he could do the job. And I definitely think, the guy who also came in after him could do the job. But I preferred the way that candidate number one presented themselves. And, I think it's difficult to say how granular you can go with this. What is the answer? It also comes down to the business and the environment they're offering as well, because again, you can hire these awesome people, you can get them in the seat, but what makes them stay? What makes them go home and tell their partners, their friends, their peers, that company's awesome? So coming back to your point on, is there a formula? How granular can you go with this? People aren't going to work in your business forever. Yes, there will be people that are there for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But there is going to be a time when those people will leave. And there's an awesome TED talk by a lady that I've read her books and watched her talks, called Patty McCord. And she speaks about, how important it is for someone's offboarding experience to be just as strong as their onboarding. You want to make sure the people that are leaving your business are going to be advocates of your business even after they leave. You want to make sure, during their time with us, that they're going home to their partners, their friends, their peers, and saying how awesome the business is and how great the environment is and the social stuff that they're doing. But even more so, you want them to be saying that when they've left the business. I think that's equally important, and especially at the moment, going through these times of virtually onboarding and virtually offboarding, which was something that I found quite difficult, because I want to be able to sit in front of someone and look them in the eye and offer help to them as well. I think something that has helped me as a piece of advice as well is I just called up the agencies that we were working with directly before going into an exit interview with someone. This exit interview, for example, was for someone that absolutely would have stayed on with us, for a good few months, or, a contract extension. But because of what's been happening, and because of the current climate, we've had to say, sorry, we can't extend you. So unforeseen circumstances, shall we say, and a bit of a shock as well. So going into that exit interview, I wanted to be as prepared as possible, to help them. So I called a few of the agencies that we're working with and just said, hey, what have you got live at the moment? We've got someone that's leaving. We can't continue working with them. What do you have that I could offer them, or can I point them in your direction? Because there's nothing worse than someone saying to you an exit, oh, how about speaking to this person, this person, this person? They're already in a state of rejection and having to go out and speak to that agency for them to say, sorry, no, we haven't got anything at the moment, but we'll call you when we do. And sometimes it's meant that I've had to go to my own network. It's not just the agencies we use. But that's something that's really helped to offer real empathy and go that kind of extra mile.
Right. Okay. Sort of, what are some of the things that you've seen companies do well and maybe not so well?
Yeah, good question. So from a budgeting perspective and from a cultural perspective, I would say nailing a referral and recommendation program from the off and having that strategy from the outset is something that companies are doing very well. And it can, they could hit the ground running in a startup.
So talking about like a kind of referral program, what program you would imagine works well? Because something that I often see is maybe 300, 400 pounds for one referral. I wonder, like, is cash even a good incentive for people to actually refer good people?
Yeah, I mean, something that we've just recently started working with is a platform called Workable. So just to tell you the platform first before the reward. So the way we had it before, I think we had it on a Slack channel, and I personally was sharing, the job descriptions and saying, hey guys, if you know anybody, and trying to get traction that way. Something like Workable is essentially a portal that people can jump into and have a look at any time and see what's live. So taking the workload off the HR, people, talent ops, person within that seat, and just constantly keeping it updated. And I think there's even a part where the agencies can keep that updated as well. So as hands off as possible. So that's working really well. In terms of reward, I guess it's the people and talent and HR person potentially doing a survey, asking what the people want. Because you're right, some people don't want money. Yes, majority do, but what does that look like? And you've got to remember as well, there are agencies they work with or have come through that are offering the same thing as well, or if not more. So I would suggest, always ask the people, go back to the people, what is it that you want? Mixing it up, giving alternatives to say, yes, you can have money, you can have vouchers, you can have, whatever it is that the people want.
And talking about growth of somebody actually within the organization, how can you make sure that a contractor is able to grow in his or her job?
I think the most important thing is firstly knowing, is it the right thing that this person continues to grow with you, or is it the right thing that the person continues to grow somewhere else? We're in a world now where it's very different to have a CV that you've only had 3 jobs and you've been at them 10-year stretches every time. It's sometimes questionable, even for me in my world, if you're working in an aggressively growing startup, to be there longer than 3 or 4 years. Some people are questioning, are they getting too comfortable, or how comes they're still there, even if they're working up the ranks. And it depends what type of candidate you are and where your peak is and where your prime is in that position. Is it when it's aggressively growing and there's mental chaos going on? It's a word we thrown around quite a lot. Some people really like the chaos, and some people don't. Some people want to feel more secure, and it's knowing yourself best when things do become more settled in a startup business, or whatever stage you're at. Do you get bored? Do you think, oh, I really want that excitement again, I want the chaos again? So in terms of growth, it's, if you're lucky enough to be in a big organization where you can put them on a project where that kind of can start again, it's not just doing it for the status of working up the ranks. It's firstly doing a bit of work on yourself as to the why you want to grow, and having, or I would say, honest conversations. Hopefully you've got a good relationship with your hiring manager or the HR team, to be like, why are you doing this? Is it because you think it's the right thing to do, or is this the best thing for you? If that answers your question.
That definitely answers my question. Now, so final question before the end of the interview, and it's something that I always ask, is regarding the current context. How do you see this sort of impacting the contractor business, the contractor market, in the next couple of months?
I'm not a strategist. All I can do is give my opinion. And, unfortunately, people are in a real state of panic at the moment. And there is a lot of uncertainty. So, of course, people want security, however that looks. And I know from speaking to my recruiter friends, I think the ones that are doing it properly are being very flexible in this time. And for example, if you're about to get let go from a business because of a budgeting issue, I know some recruitment agencies are going to those people and saying, look, what hit would you be prepared to take, so we don't have to exit you, or coming up with strategies coming up with solutions, with the hiring manager and the recruitment agency and the contractor to say, look, you know, if we were going to offer you 30% less, would that still be okay for you to stay with us? If we were going to say to you, could you work 3 days a week instead of 5 as a contractor, would that still work for you? Because what we don't want to do is have a knee-jerk reaction and be reactive in this situation as if we're never going to go back to work again. You know, to come out of this in the best possible way, it's making sure that we don't pull up the foundation of everything that we've built. You know, we know we've worked, you know, for 2 years building an incredible team. You know, I'm constantly in exit interviews at the moment where I'm asking people, you know, what is something we're doing well? And the common theme is, you know, hiring great people, you know, having people, you know, the people are the reason I came to work, or I loved working with that person or that person. And, you know, yes, we're in really uncertain times and we don't know how long this is going to go on for, but come at this with a solution rather than, you know, ripping apart everything you've built. Because when the day comes that we can go, you know, back to work, we might have a shell of a team. At least you have a team to build on. And it would be such a shame to, you know, rip apart all of the work that you've done. So I know I think the best agencies and hiring managers and teams that are looking at that will come out bulletproof and stronger than the ones that are just saying, right, let's look at the budget, let's get rid of these people. I think the people that are being more flexible and solutions based, and also have a vision that, you know, we are going to come out of it. There's nothing worse than working for a team where no one's speaking about what's going to happen at the end of it. It's just about the fire that you're in at the moment. You know, I know I'm someone that wants to give a positive message and be saying to people, you know, when we're back to work, we're going to do this, or, you know, give a bit of hope. You know, hope's the last to die, right? You know, make sure you're giving people something to look forward to and something to still continue to believe in. So in terms of IR35, I mean, I wish that was my biggest problem at the moment. You know, we worked on this for months, only to have it, you know, completely pulled from underneath us. If it wasn't Brexit, it was IR35, and now it's coronavirus. But it will all eventually level out. I think, of course, there's going to be, you know, panic, but I think what the main thing is that people have had time to really reflect about the job that they're in. The job that they've just been let go of, you know, the job they were just about to start, and really take time to reflect and sit with, was that right for me? Did I do the right thing? What could I be doing better? There's going to be some people that are going to make some huge changes because of this. And I am someone, you know this more than anyone, Ben, that only wants to look at the positives in a situation like this. But I do really think there are so many. When have we ever had the time to sit with ourselves and really think about, you know, what is our purpose and what are we doing here? So we might find some people back in the market, you know, that have left. We might find some people leaving to go and do some really random stuff. But there is change, and change isn't always bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think this is a great mindset to have, is to think about the positive and the good thing that we can actually get out of this, in spite of all the problems that we're having to face right now. Thanks a lot, Sarah, for your time and for your insight.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.